sticking with the recording videos, here's another one. So I thought I'd start this week off. It's Thursday, November the 6th, so the day after the previous video. Now, Euro USD and the markets have just been absolutely terrible this week. There's been not a lot of entries, but it's good. It's good practice, certain hands. And I thought I'd show an entry that just happened now. Is 5:40. I entered around 5:30 p.m. UK time, which is about 12:30 New York time. Now, if we zoom out, and I want to show this candidly and transparently, because I think transparency is key in trading. There's not a lot of that, right? We've just had that reaction on DXY. If we swap to DXY, we've had that reaction to DXY in the high time frame, the weekly, the daily level, the monthly level. It's been taken out of that liquidity. Now, that was the target for the week. We didn't get any entries for it. What we're expecting now is a pullback. It's a pullback within a pullback, because the overall time frame is bearish on DXY. So we're expecting just a pullback on price. Why is it a pullback on pullback? Because in the intraday time frame, we're actually looking for buys. So we're pulling back within a pulling back. Fair? A bit of inception going on there. Right. Keeping it short and sweet again. We're looking at today. How can we get involved in the trade today? There was no entries for me in my plan until now. I like taking entries towards the end of the day, which is London close or New York PM session, which starts at 6 p.m. my time. You usually actually get quite a lot of reversals, I tend to notice anyways, around this time. Or very rarely continuation, but reversals are quite common. And that's because New York lunch is obviously from 12 till 1:30 New York time, give or take. And people like to close their positions either before lunch, during lunch, or open up new ones to start the PM session, right? That's my ideology anyways. So as we see the order flow change, we had a beautiful, I'm going to put the indicators here back on. I had a beautiful sweep of this 1 hour liquidity. We swept all of these bits of liquidity on the way up. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, I'm waiting for my entry, right? We had Trump speak and he was just spouting nonsense, if I'm honest. The main reason for this was, I believe, the anticipation of Trump speaking at 4, he was delayed by an hour. So there's this delay here. Now, we get this final break of range. Usually what I want to see is a sweep of structure there, and then potentially this candle to sweep this again. That's, to me, is chef's kiss optimal entry, but we didn't get that. So the reason why this is still good is because we do get that market structure where we're going up, we're just slowly ranging. We get that break of structure. Yes, I agree that this here is a risky one, and I've noted that. However, it's still a valid trade on the higher time frames that we've seen and a close of day. And if you think about the time of day and also the daily candle formation, this daily candle has already gone 54 pips. So the chance of it going even higher when the average daily candle is probably about 50 pips. Look, 35, previous one was 60, this one was 30. So let's just say the average candle is about 50 pips. It's done its move for the day. So what's going to happen within a daily candle is potential pullback. It's not going to be a large trade, maybe a 2-to-1, but it's still a trade nonetheless that is valid. And so what we're looking for is a rejection. We have a lot of candles and consolidation around this area. Another green flag for me. I'm looking for an entry. So we get that push down finally once Trump sort of finished speaking, etc. And it's on the 5 minutes, nice. 15, nice, close below. I agree the 15 doesn't look good right now, but I disregard that when I'm entering. So I use the fair value gaps. We've already got our checklist done. Fair value gaps. Where can we see any price entry? Nothing on the 5, the 1 minute. So this entry I usually enter on the first one rather than the second. I made a mistake and actually should have entered on this because I used the wrong stop loss. I zoomed in on the 5 minute and all I saw was this. So I measured my stop loss to this guy rather than, if I look left, is up here. So my actual stop loss is actually up here now. So I am in this trade. My stop loss is up here. And obviously I wouldn't have entered where I am now with this poor RR because I'm only going to be targeting the closest 1 hour low, which is about 192 from here. So ideally, if I entered from here, 3 R is not bad. With that in mind, how do we manage this trade? Well, like we said, this here was a risky entry because we're obviously respecting this. And if I'm honest, I think looking back at this, is it worth the risk? I'd say still yes, because of this structure being swept here and all these candles here consolidating around that area. I'm happy to take that risk with the reward being 3R. Now that the reward's a little bit less, I disagree and think it's not actually worth the risk. We'll find out, I'm sure. But overall, we're in this trade. I'll let you know how it goes.
It is that time of the week again. It's a Wednesday and there's been no trades really. I missed one trade today, which is Wednesday. No trade Monday, no trade Tuesday. Bank holiday was a slow market, nothing represented. But today we might have an opportunity to enter a trade, we put the buy limit on Euro USD. I've documented as well the loss that I took, a silly loss, for screen recorded that. I'll screen record this trade if I'm entered in, whether it's a win or loss, and we'll see and upload this by the end of the day. We'll see how it plays out.
As promised in the last video, we're going to show some of the FTMO metrics as well. But first off, I'm going to show this trade, which I mentioned in the video. So I was initially looking at Euro USD as always, and we saw yesterday, which Tuesday closed bullish, weekly bullish as well. And after that big push towards the downside, we actually swept some liquidity, higher time frame liquidity on DXY. And that is why, and also this FEG, we're seeing a reaction, right? However, in my opinion, it's still just a pullback in the current trend. You can easily see from the 17th of September, we've been making lower lows and lower highs. And so this is just a minor pullback to then continue further down for the rest of November. And with that in mind, and adapting to that, can we catch any buys? And that's what my thesis was for this day, or for today, until we see this shift on the 1 hour or the intraday where we see sales going forward. Now, I'm going to mark the chart here. This is already towards the end of the day. It's 4 p.m. on the Wednesday for me, UK time. I was looking for buys this morning, and we actually didn't get anything I missed the sales this morning during London session, and we had an opportunity once we started rejecting this area around 10 a.m., 11 a.m. UK time. So my entry actually was around 12ish on this candle. And so we had these candle closures. We had that 1 hour sweep that I looked for. Hop on the 15, see a beautiful little fair value gap here. Chuck my entry in there, wait for an entry, get tagged in. Now, what do you notice about this? Well, I think, in my opinion, from the current conditions, I've been trading pretty much for 6 years now. These are the weirdest conditions I've traded in terms of lower volume but higher volatility, and we can see this through the wicks. There's a lot of wickiness on Euro USD, and I'm not used to that personally, especially if we looked at the summer months where it was a lot more smooth, easier to follow, the flow was there. But right now, it seems like the markets, for obvious reasons, are on edge. There's a lot of political tensions out there as well. And so we're seeing movements, of course, but not really smooth movements. And like I said, you can see this with the wicks. Now, with that in mind, you can see the wicks here again around our entry. I get wicked in, but then it just doesn't do anything. If we measure this, it's 5 pips, and there's not a lot of volume there, is there? Like I said, low volume but high volatility. And so that is one of the market conditions that a lot of traders fail in, because they're trying to force setups when the volume isn't there because they see volatility. And you have to, in my opinion, from experience, you have to manage these very aggressively, because anything can happen very quickly. And that's what we saw here. So in my opinion, we had a nice reaction at this area, but we just failed to continue higher. And we got my entry tagged in, like I said, at 12:30 UK time, but it did nothing. So I closed about break even, a little bit in profit, and that was it. Because if price in my thesis here, if price didn't break this high here, we weren't going to go any higher. We're going to either range or continue lower, and we actually continued to sweat this low, and then we got the push up, and there was no entry for me here either. And that's just the current market conditions. So I've taken one trade in the last 4 trading days, and it's been pretty slow, to be honest with you. Slow, not a lot going on. I missed one trade, like I said, this morning. Apart from that, there's not really a lot going on in this pair. Yes, you could argue I could diversify, but I just wanted to get to the grips again with Euro USD, my baby, and go from there. But until to get some US shutdown or unshutdown, rumored to be tomorrow, I think the market conditions will still be like this until then. And there's not much more we can do. Obviously, the main reason is because there's no US data or limited US data. So the market is just sort of on standby. Investors are on the sidelines waiting. And all that political instability is causing the further lower volume and thus more volatility. Now, I'll show you my, what do you call this, metrics, FTMO metrics. So at the moment, I'm down 2.6%. There you go, 2.6% on a nice 200K account. The trading days of 5, because you see, overall, it's only been 5 trades, and it's been winning rate pretty poor. And everything's just been pretty meh. You can see this account was like opened in end of October, or was it a bit before October actually? Yeah, on the 31st of October. And since then, there's just not been a lot going on. And like I said, the 7th of November was on our trade before then, and then we had today, which was just a break even. So consistency wise, I'm happy with that. I'm not doing anything different. I just understand that the marketing conditions right now aren't very favorable. And so sitting on your hands is actually the better play. And so I've been just life maxing, as they say, and doing other ventures. And you can see here the trades that I've taken on the calendar view with the 31st there as well. So it was actually 2 trading days I had, and I traded Friday. So overall, like I said, pretty meh. I think I'll show this more often. I think it's quite cool to see and people to see and transparency. And if someone asks me, are you worried about this, or how do you react in drawdown? I think it's quite a common and good question, to be honest. And at the moment, no, I have zero. I think I'm at that point in my journey where I don't feel an attachment to an account or an attachment to a number, because at the end of the day, it's just a mechanical process. It's trading. You have to risk things to make things. And if you let this number, or any number really, even if this was reversed and it said 215,000, if you let these numbers dictate how you feel, you'll never have control of your trading. The trading will always have control of you. And being able to come to terms with these numbers, and that's, in my opinion, is purely through time and experience. The longer you work with the same numbers or big numbers, the more you get used to them, accustomed to them. I'm sure if you asked me this and this figure was 1 million, I'd probably have a different answer for you right now in my current mindset, because I haven't been working with $1 million. So you have to work your way up to that point to actually become accustomed to it. And that's my point of this video. So maybe some people are watching this video and they're trading with a prop from account would be 50,000 or 25,000. And they're seeing this 200,000 account like, wow, bro, you're down nearly $5,000. That's my max drawdown on my other account. And I'm thinking, of course, I agree with you, but that's because your current mindset is limiting you from seeing the bigger picture. And you work your way up. I felt like that before previously, where I was trading on a smaller, a $10,000 account or 10,000 euro account I had originally. And this 200,000 seemed like a dream, a pipe dream. But you work your way up to it, and you get there by consistent effort in this craft, right? And once you become accustomed to it, it's just a game at the end of the day, right? A game of numbers. Just keep trading your plan, keep following and protecting your capital at the forefront of your mind, and you'll watch your account grow. And like I said, I'm not too worried about this at all. And even if this went down to 5, 6, 7% drawdown, it's part of the game. It's part of trading, but you should be able to adapt and overcome. And this adapting is shown through the market conditions of me sitting on my hands. If I didn't manage that trade correctly at the 12, and I got sucked in and been like, I'm married by bias, and said, I must be right, well, that's it, I would have lost my trade purely because my ego was ahead of me. You got to remember, the market is actually your boss at the end of the day. They say you do trading to have no boss, but the market is your boss in a way. If the market doesn't move, you don't make money. And you have to follow what your boss is telling you, and your boss is telling you right now to sit on your hands. And so for this pair specifically, there's probably other pairs, and I know there's goals moving again. There's other pairs that are moving, but for me specifically, sitting on my hands is the best play right now. And I'm looking for ideally to see the US shutdown conclude this week. And what we can see potentially, if we look at the chart again, is either the high created for the week tomorrow, or we might even just get a continuation of the move all the way up to even up to here. Now, I don't think that would be plausible. And the reason for that is, like I said, we've been trending downwards and creating and respecting these highs. So the chance of this price here to get all the way up to here is lower at the moment. And that's purely, like I said, because of these movements: lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And look at every single lower high being created. It doesn't ever go near the top of those swing highs. So keeping that in mind and playing the trend since the 17th of September, if you adopt that into your trading, you should be able to notice that and say, okay, Speny might actually have a point here. Let's see how this plays out. So all we're looking for is to take our piece of the pie. And that may come from even today. Maybe this candle might close like so, or even a bit lower. And then we can start looking for sells once we on the 1 hour time frame, once we start breaking some structure. But if we go down to the 1 hour, and you may ask, Speny, how do we know if the 1 hour has actually changed character? Well, it's quite simple. If you look at the inverse of what we've been looking at on the daily, you can see clearly we've been creating higher highs and higher lows, like so. So if we go like this, how beautiful was that? Bit of consolidation, but then continuation again. Consolidation, will we get a continuation? That's the question mark right now. We don't actually know. So with that in mind, this could be the turning point where if we start closing below here, and so you start getting this kind of pattern, what do you think will happen next? Well, it more than likely will continue in the high time frame current trend, which will be further down and back down, targeting this low and then even further for the rest of the month. So keeping that in mind, that's what I'm looking for tomorrow and Friday, and we will see how it reacts at this area, because I think it's a very key area. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and the more transparent ones will come with the FTMO dashboard being shown. Thank you very much.